What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 82 of the Overview. I'm ChanManV, and joining me today is, he looks like a pirate, actually. Well, of course, Fishstix is back. What's up, Ben?
Hey, I am back. I have returned from my post-TwitchCon slumber, and I'm ready to talk about some Overwatch, because today is the last day for signings. We are in the 11th hour of OWL rosters and news coming out, and BlizzCon is in just a couple of days, so lots of good stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun just getting a chance to, I don't know, just make predictions, just speculate about what's going to happen this weekend. It's going to be awesome. And of course, who better to do it than Gillfrost joining us again. What's up, Gil?
How's it going? Feeling good to be here. I'm glad for getting ready for BlizzCon, and this is just getting my hype even more. So.
Good. Yeah, so we thought we would sneak in an episode before we actually go. We might be able to do like a quick one while we're there. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I'm definitely planning on bringing the webcam and the mic and stuff, and there's potentially a setup in one of the WoW guild halls too. But I know everybody's schedule's busy, so I'm not going to promise anything. But if we do, I'll let you know. Just obviously watch us or keep track on Twitter and all that good stuff. But tonight, not really a crazy amount of things on the agenda, but definitely some more teams that were announced. Going to obviously do our fun judging of their logos and then like taking a look at their rosters and what we think how we think they'll end up doing once the season starts. A couple game things, season 7 starting, of course, and then a buff to a character that's hasn't been as popular recently, so that should be cool. And then of course BlizzCon with the World Cup, just potential announcements for the game too. We're gonna go full out speculating and passion mode, so get ready for that. And then at the end, I don't think we have any email questions this week, so actually we might. I have to double check it. If we don't, we'll take a couple from Twitch chat, just if you guys have anything on your mind. But why don't we start off by talking about the game news? So first off, the season 7 started today, so I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to play on the
I literally just got home from work, as per usual.
Of course.
Unfortunately. But I will be playing placements after this.
Actually, I probably will be too. We'll see. I find I have better experiences before the kids get off school during the day, so I might try to get some in tomorrow. But I played a few when I got home early from work today, and it was just brutal because it was like the hour before the season ended, so everyone was still practicing, and I'm like, I just want to win. Can we just please play seriously? So I'm ready for it to be back.
I need some redemption really badly because I was very close to my season high. In fact, my career high 2 weeks, a week and a half before TwitchCon, and then I just put everything on freeze and just focused only on TwitchCon. Now, as soon as I came back, I wanted to finish off the season, but I hadn't played for 2 weeks. I had decayed, and I ended up going 4-13. So that felt terrible. We need to get some retribution right now.
You're saying you decayed. It just sounds like you just got like all crusty and shit, Like it's so weird.
Both my SR decayed, and apparently so did my skills. They both decayed.
They both decayed. Wow. Well, last season I didn't actually get a chance to play too much, so this season I plan on playing a bit more. So I can't wait. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Destiny 2's starting to eat into it a little bit, even right off the bat. So I might have to wait a couple weeks until I max out Destiny 2 and there's nothing else to play, which I hear is coming up soon. But yeah, so anyways, guys, get your loot boxes while you still can, because the event is about to end, and you don't want to miss out on getting that Symmetra skin. I got everything except the Symmetra skin. I was so pissed, and I had to actually finally spend the 3,000 gold and buy that thing. Oh, man.
Shit, I didn't even think about buying skins before the season ended. I have gold up the ass. Oh my god.
You better spend it. Me. Definitely got to spend it. Okay, next bit of news is that we saw a post on the forums. I think it was Jeff Kaplan was saying that Ana indeed is getting a damage buff. And they've been trying it out internally with their, GM master team or group that they have, and they're ready to put it out on PTR soon. So that's pretty exciting, given that Ana has obviously had much less love with the craziness that's been happening with Mercy, and of course Lucia. Like, we just never sit Lucio. Lucio is like a forever starter, so it'll be nice to try to get some a damage or Anna back in there. But it's kind of interesting that they decided to buff her damage. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, Mercy has been a little strong as of late, and so I think they're trying to say the least. And I think that this is a good quality of life change for her because she can already out heal anyone, and it just adds an extra element of kind of also still being able to maybe be a pressure to Mercy in the air and Far in the air. It's just a slight advantage in that regard. I don't know how much of an effect it's going to have. I think we might see a little bit more of it, but it's more of a quality of life thing than a full out like buff. I don't think it's going to shatter anything.
Yeah, it is interesting, but it's also not, because remember, Anna's attack damage used to be 80. Her healing was 80, her attack damage was 80. It was the same. Yeah. So now so they nerfed it down to 60 from 80, and now they're bringing it up to 70 in PTR. So right now, Anna needs any help she can get. But I will remind everyone, before Mercy was super, super strong, Anna was getting picked at a very high rate. Like, yes, Zenyatta was starting to kind of be the more dominant second support behind Lucio, but you did still see a ton of Anna. In fact, I was just watching some matches from the APAC Premier, no, sorry,
they still play it.
I meant Soul Cup is what I meant to say. And both teams were running Anna all the time. Yeah. So let's not forget that Anna's not necessarily weak. It's just that Mercy's super strong and making her less of a good pick, because Mercy's usually better in most situations. But guys, that was my drum roll. A PTR patch just hit literal moments ago. Literally,
it's always
5-10
everything
minutes
is like literally right before the show. Yeah.
So luckily, I got fast fingers and I added it to the script. So it's okay. I'll just read these out for you guys. This is the first time I'm reading them as well. Anna, Biotic Rifle, we talked about this already, is damage increased from 60 to 70. And then Mercy, there's a couple big Mercy changes coming at you right now. Resurrect, cast time has been increased from 0 seconds to 1.75 seconds. Oh. Mercy's movement speed is now reduced by 70% while casting, and now may be interrupted when Mercy is knocked back, stunned, or hacked. So there's a way to counterplay against reses now.
Okay.
Yes. It's going to make her way more vulnerable every time she reses.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I mean, I think that's always been something that she needed, is to be put at risk, at least when she's making something that's so powerful as res.
Yeah, no, that just on initial look is kind of huge, because the big problem with her res is that you could use it to actually then you didn't have to be as mindful of your positioning as a team, because if you got picked off, you could actually kind of cheat a little bit in your positioning, because you could just bring someone back. But now you're going to be much more mindful of that, which I think is good quality play, is when you have to be thinking of that from a team perspective. You can't just get it for free.
I think these changes are pretty great, because it does allow for counterplay. I mean, the frustrating thing about res, I might get crucified for this because I'm apparently the only one that feels this way. I don't think it's the res itself, which is frustrating. It's the fact that it's difficult to have any kind of counterplay against it. So now a savvy McCree can stun or flashbang, a Sombra can hack, anyone can kill her. She's 75% slower while rezzing. So that's actually a huge deal. And there's one last bit in this PTR patch that just hit moments ago. When Valkyrie is activated, Resurrection no longer has the cast time. So Valkyrie is still going to be strong as balls. It's just the rest of Mercy that's not going to be nearly as strong.
And I like that. Your ult should be powerful. I mean, it should give you advantages. And I think that with the fact that now her non-ult play is somewhat mitigated, that makes a lot of sense to me. And now that makes even more sense by bringing Anna just up just slightly. Because I remember that nerf going down to 60, and I thought it was just a bit too much. I didn't really see that. It kind of came out of nowhere for me. But in conjunction with this, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that's true. I still think they're trying to move these levers a little bit closer, but I still feel weird having Mercy have res as a regular ability. I still think that is a core issue that they'll have to look at event. Like they can make the cast times longer, whatever, but it still you still get punished for getting like not punished, but you don't get an advantage when you get an early pick, like right off the bat, like on the or whatever. It's like it's still an issue.
I have a bias when it comes to Mercy, and you like had said, Fishstix, that you actually don't think it's terribly imbalanced, and I think it was imbalanced with how it was, but reses are not necessarily imbalanced; they're just really tricky to balance themselves. And so I'm glad they're doing this. But I had this bias as a caster. So like after doing Contenders, which was all pre-patch, all pre-Mercy patch, that was like where my head was. And then I actually casted DreamHack last week, and I kind of got. It was really brutal casting for Mercy because the whole ebb and flow of my casting was like, oh, and they got a pick. Oh, they're going off. Oh no, wait.
Exactly.
No, actually, and that's back. So now at least I'll be able to kind of have that counterplay. Oh, hey, somebody died. Is Mercy going to go in for the? It'll be a lot more.
1.5 second or 1.75 seconds is a long time in Overwatch. This is a really fast-paced game. So to me, what that says is, yes, you're going to be able to get that res, but only with your team backing you up. Yes. Otherwise, you're dead. And then Mercy being out of that fight is terrible. So it's going to be risky to res anyone at all, unless you have shields, unless you have support. So
no question, it's better. So it'll be good to see how how it does affect things, and if it does help with the flow of even just your casting or whoever's casting, like you were mentioning, Gil. Okay, any other things in this thing? Let's see, bug fixes. Yeah, not much outside of that, but
that's it. Yeah.
I think I have a feeling this update will go out pretty quickly. Like I don't see it sitting on PTR for weeks or weeks. So I'd actually like to see this go out live like really soon and see what happens, because we all know like not very many people are gonna actually get a chance to play it on PTR, and it's not we're not gonna get much feedback on it for in whatever that week's time, and this is like a really cool addition. So looking forward to that, and potentially what else is going to be announced at BlizzCon, because like usually things go out to PTR regardless of when they're announced, right? Like they don't actually care about the suspensefulness of what's going to happen. Maybe Sombra they held off last year until like they actually announced it, then they put it on PTR. But for the most part, like Doomfist coming out early, stuff like that. They obviously just have like their own kind of cycle, and sometimes big marketing moments don't really matter as much. So I'm kind of curious to see if they have something huge planned at BlizzCon, but we'll talk about it a little bit later here. Before we do that, let's talk about the news, like the Overwatch news. And given that it's October 31st, it's a day after the deadline, which was October 30th to nail down your entire rosters for Overwatch League. We're starting to get all of the marketing announcements and just full rosters, just all the videos that they've made, and all that good stuff. So we, even last week we were having some fun, just getting a chance to look at Boston for the first time and things like that. So we've had 5 more bits of news. I think 3 very maybe 2 full roster type of reveals, and then like 3 additional ones. So starting off, we've got Dallas's roster, which we've known for the most part, but they announced that I think we talked about Custa last week, and XQC was announced to be added. And I know, Ben, we were talking privately about like who they're going to add, and you're like, hey, XQC seems like it would be somebody that would make sense, because there was rumor that a 7th country or whatever it was going to be added to the roster. So everybody was trying to figure out who it was, and you thought that it was XQC was a potential, given that he was such a good Winston, and Coco's always been a little questionable Winston, and I was just like, no possible way. There's like no way they would add somebody like XQC. Well, they added XQC, and from a roster standpoint, it makes a lot of sense, given that he fills a big hole. But I don't know. What do you think, Gil, about this addition?
I'll tell you, it wasn't necessarily expected. Then again, I was trying not to speculate as much as possible. But when you look at it, I was going to kind of mention the difference in having 2 different potential main tank threats. You can also potentially flex that in terms of maybe bringing Mickey out if you want to put a Winston into your lineup and still have Coco out there potentially.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of that right now, but it gives you a lot of tank flexibility. And XQC, has been pretty prolific in his personality as well. So I think he's fairly marketable in that regard. So it definitely makes a lot of sense, and I'm really excited to see how. Because one of a lot of people's favorite teams, I guess, is Envious, and when we're looking at having a bastion, so to speak, a team that we know and love still in Overwatch League and not being picked apart and like completely retooled. This team, while they do have some new looks, it's still I'm excited to see how the Envious that we know and love kind of just evolves and grows from this. And I think they have one of the highest potentials in the very beginning of Overwatch League, just judging based on what we know so far.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a great pickup for them. Because marketable and one of the biggest regular Twitch streamers on the Overwatch directory. I mean, you see him there all the time. Of course, you want to pick players that are going to round out the team and the squad. That's the number one priority. But you can't blame Dallas or Envious or whoever for wanting to get people who bring viewership. They have sponsors, and those sponsors are going to be on his stream. So that needs to be taken into consideration. But more than that, he does fit into the roster because Coco, I won't say no, he's not by any means less than a tier 1 Winston, but having someone who to focus almost solely, almost specialize entirely on a single character like Winston, that's such an impactful character, can only help give the team more options. And don't forget, Coco is an incredibly good Zarya too. So I could certainly see situations like Gillfrost was mentioning where maybe you have Mickey sit the bench and you have XQC playing main tank and Coco can flex onto Zarya. He can flex onto something else. So I think this makes a ton of sense. We were speculating it was going to be a Winston main. I thought it could have been Nox because Nox can flex into Lucio as well. And also a very, very good Winston. But this one definitely makes sense. And yes, I did predict it.
Well, on paper, I think it makes sense. The only part I would say is that I get that he's a big streamer. I mean, like, do they really need any more streaming help? I mean, given that they have Brandon and they have Timing already, but obviously this is like another top streamer.
Couldn't hurt,
on the roster. But I have to say I might be a little bit worried as to just the dynamics of all these personalities. Like these are strong personalities all together now, and they will have to, work together, or even at some point, like there has to be a leader of this team. And like, is everybody willing to actually give in to having, them not be that leader? We can't have like 5 leaders to a team. I mean, that's not going to happen. So I'm really curious to see, because, the Envious team that we know, they had a great dynamic in terms of like knowing their roles, knowing what they do. And that's what made them so successful. Now we're adding some, I wouldn't say like crazy alpha males, but we are adding like people who are successful in their own right to this formula. And, we'll have to see how it works out. What we saw in contenders, at least with Brandon, it was working well. Whatever we saw there, that seemed good. And now with Cuss and XQC, we'll see.
Yeah, that's a big. I think that's going to be a huge factor actually in Overwatch League at large. Is how are the players interacting with each other, and also how are they interacting with the infrastructural changes and just kind of the growth that Overwatch League is going to experience. I would be more worried compared to, because you look at Team Envious and like some of these additions they've made. I think culturally speaking, they do mesh. I'm not like worried. There are a lot of strong personalities, but at least culturally they kind of are. They seem like I could picture them hanging out on the weekend. We'll just say. But then I would be more worried about some of these teams that are bringing in mixing like Korean players with North American players. Yeah. We've seen how the cultural impact of like doing that can be very negative, and Immortals being kind of the example there. And so I'd be more worried about like the Boston Uprising, honestly, to see how they can integrate the different cultures. That's going to be a much bigger question, but definitely a theme I think we're going to see in Overwatch League.
Yeah. Okay, well, the next team that we have that has just, I guess, more of a major bit of news, since we haven't really heard anything from them until now, is the New York team. So New York announced their full rosters and showed their logo. So let's take a look at that real quick here.
The extra large team or something like that. Like what was it again?
Is it the X-Men? I mean, a lot of people are speculating about that today. Are they going to be the X-Men team? So let's show the. Should we show the emblem first here? Yeah, before we show the roster, because it's kind of hard to tell on that. It's a weird website, I have to say.
It is a weird website.
Yeah, it is a weird. So let me just show the Twitter first, because I think the Twitter
avant-garde.
shows shows the emblem or the logo much better. So, yep, we see this kind of, obviously a design, a pattern design, and it's supposed to have, just this X, I guess, for the Excelsior, because that's the mascot for for the team. So the New York Excelsior, big old X, and the font is like this kind of, I don't know what you call it. it's like playing paths or something like that.
Yeah, Tron font. Yeah,
Tron font. Okay, there you go, Tron font. So what do you guys think? Last week we did a scale of 1 to 10 for font and for logo. So why don't we just carry it over here? What do you guys give it?
I like the typography and the font way more than I like the logo. I can see what they're going for. I think with the NYXL logo as it is, like it's almost reminiscent of like what you see for like SF Giants and things like that in mainstream sports. I can see it being made into a more concise logo that people identify with. The main logo, though, isn't jumping out to me as anything special or particularly memorable. So if I were them, I definitely prefer the text and the typography over everything else. If you give
the most
me,
unique thing,
I don't know, like a 4 on the logo, like maybe a 6.5 on the text. Does that work?
All right. Wow,
that'd be pretty close.
You harsh.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 4 and 7, but
Okay.
I just have to give my 2 cents on all of the because if you pick apart these things, I think that the branding, when you look across all of the teams so far, I don't know if you're familiar with Cold Stone Creamery or the likes, but like I define it as like their flavors of ice cream, because the way they do ice cream is they still start with the sweet cream flavor. It's like the generic, just like it's like more vanilla than vanilla ice cream, and they mix things into it, and that creates every other flavor. And it's like they all started with this same base, and they just kind of like made slight modifications to this one little theme.
Sure.
And they're all like, and that's why I think like all of the logos, all of the branding for all the teams is equal, and it's all like at like a 6 or a 7, which I agree with. I actually think it's good to kind of put them all on a playing field. But this one has been the most unique, and I would agree. I think the typography, as far as brand impact, is going to be right around that 6-7 range. The logo itself, definitely not standing out to me. So
okay, so for me, it's like I'm a little bit torn with the logo, because I actually think with that logo, or just with that just the pattern generally, you can actually do some cool stuff like merch wise. And I can actually see some people wanting to wear things like jerseys, or you can imagine like a soccer jersey or something with that type of pattern on it, right? As a logo representing, like if you just see this purely like being used to represent your team, that's quite kind of where it gets me. It's like I don't think it's very unique at all. like again, this like color wise and pattern wise, I think it was a good design, but they shouldn't have used it just as its logo. So yeah, I give it a 5 for the logo. The typography or the font, I actually don't like it. Like I think it's unique. It's hard to read, dude. It's like I have a hard, like, can you imagine reading words like that, or like that look like that? I mean, it's kind of hard to read. So
I saw, before I knew that it was an announcement for the team, I saw a bunch of people like retweeting it, and I saw like just glancing through my feed on Twitter, and I thought a bunch of people were tweeting some kind of fashion line. That's immediately what I thought.
Right. So merch, man, good job for sure. Yeah. Like for apparel, they got it. But for some of the other things, I think it's going to be hard. And this is NYXL. So XL is Excelsior. Is that normal for? I mean, I've never used Excelsior for the most part.
Excelsior.
Yeah.
I don't mind the name actually. When
I
you
like
say
the
it,
name.
I think
Excelsior is
it
kind of
sounds
cool. Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
But they've already
South Park
abbreviated.
memes aside.
Yeah, right. They've already created the abbreviation XL. So interesting move there. But let's compare that to another team that we have, which made their announcement, which is the Optic roster, Outlaws, which was announced today. And I mean, I think you see night and day actually with these two. So, okay, so here's the Outlaws. This is like the actual website too. So, I didn't actually show. Oh, we should talk about the roster. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip over the Excelsior roster. Let's talk about the
LW Blue. It's LW Blue. They just got LW Blue.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I mean, I don't think you can. There's some differing opinions on importing entire Korean teams into the US. I don't think you can go too wrong in season 1 picking one of the top teams out of Korea. I think there's a good majority of the NA mixed teams that are not going to be able to compete with something like LW Blue at all.
Yeah.
Out
Out of the gate, right? Like,
yeah.
just not going to.
But then there's some people, I think, like Flame, I think even on the show, who is saying you're nuts to have only Koreans. They're not going to adapt to the culture. They're not going to be as good if they're not in the Korean environment. So, I mean, I don't know. It's all theory crafting at this point, but I would certainly put pure LW Blue plus a couple role players up in the higher end of the pack right now in terms of the rosters we've seen, for sure.
Yeah. As far as short-term results, yeah, I mean, if I was pitting them against most of the other teams in the first match of the Overwatch League, definitely going to be putting my money on them. Now that being said, a lot of the teams are, and I'm going to say that it's obvious that they're maybe planning for different. They're not necessarily planning to be the best team out of the gate, and I'm saying that I hope so, because if that's what they're hoping, they chose they made some bad decisions. But this is a team that I think gives you the option to then also flex into the future, just because of having the full Korean team that has already shown that they can be successful fairly consistently. Means you can start growing from there. Whereas other teams that are going to start growing, they're growing from a much lower position. Yeah.
Well, they're a smaller team too, right? I mean, there's 9 on this roster. I mean, they're obviously Flower's not on here, but I think compared to the other teams, we actually already see 10 to 12 on the other teams. Another person, it's LW Blue, but it's also Libero too, guys. So it's like Libero is, I mean, Metathena, he obviously best player, I think, on Metathena, or he arguably the best player. So, DPS wise, I think they're beyond fine. They're gonna have like definitely one of the best combos, I think, once Flower's here too. But Mono,
is it confirmed that Flower's going to join the team?
I guess it's not confirmed.
Of age.
I just assumed he was going to be part of it. Maybe not. He's too young. He's like in that kind of same situation that we see with Sinatra, but he hasn't signed a contract. So yeah, maybe he's still out there. Even without that, Sabioli and Libero are an awesome tandem, like, together.
Oh yeah.
And then you got Mono at tank. Mono's obviously been one of the best since we've seen in the last few months. And then Giannis too is great. So I think maybe the supports are the only ones that you can find in is it Jonik? I don't really recall his play, but maybe those two are the ones that you take a look at. This team seems like it's going to be pretty good. LW Blue didn't perform super great this last season, so I don't know if they were distracted or not, with the move, because they were obviously having a lot of things going on in the background. But this is one of those teams where I think that if they look like the previous season from Apex, then they'll be awesome. if it's this last season, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Okay, so let's talk about the Houston Outlaws now. And okay, so this is their logo in their font. So what do you guys think?
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's my favorite for sure.
So like all the old esports heads, all the old esports veterans love shitting on everything OWL. I just see it all the time.
Yeah.
It's crazy how jaded some of these people are, but no one can talk shit on this team, this logo, this name, the presentation, the video that they made. Everything was really good. And what this is showing to me immediately right off the bat is that a team like Optic is going to have the graphic design, the video editing, the sense for marketing to the esports crowd down much better than most of these other teams that are hiring a bunch of new people right off the bat. They really nailed it. I mean, I know a lot of these logos are in collaboration with Blizzard. I think Blizzard is helping make most of these logos, or working with them at least on it. But like just everything about their roster announcement was done better, I'd say, than most other teams. Everyone loves this logo. It's the Longhorn with 2 pistols. It's just cool. I like the text as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just because I'm a McCree main that I love it. I just want to say that.
Anything with a Longhorn is going to get my approval. So, but the thing is that I feel like the design is the most creative one. I mean, it's a combination of obviously the McCree aspect, and then you make it into a Texas thing. So probably again most creative out of all of them. And then like I love the font too. It matches. It's readable, and I think the only thing that you would say is just the color. I mean, it's the Optic color, so you can't really argue with it. But them presenting all of these things on a white background, it's kind of hard to read Houston, right? But overall, yeah, I think this one's been the best announcement. Their video, I mean, I know you love the video, Ben, but the comms and stuff, like, I don't know why they added the comms and stuff to that video. They could have left that out, I would say, but it was definitely one of the better videos for sure. So yeah, Houston off to a good start. We saw if you look at their roster too, I mean, I think that it's clear that Dallas and Houston, the Texas teams, seem to have the crowd favorites on their teams, as well as they did a pretty good job in presenting their logos as well as their announcement of the roster. So looking at this, I think we all knew that FNRGFE was going to be the main foundation to this team. And then we saw the new additions, which is Jake and Linkser, which we heard a few days ago, and then now we see that Spree is part of this, as well as Clockwork too, and Mendo, of course. So what do you guys think of this roster?
A+ marketability, 100%. I think this team is going to have more fans than anyone else outside of probably Dallas Fuel, just by the name brands on this team.
Mm-hmm.
You've got guys like Jake, who's kind of like the face of Team USA right now. Mendo, who's a big streamer and just a personality that overflows everywhere. You've got all these old TF2 guys, which everyone seems to have a lot of nostalgia about, including Messer on the coach role, Clockwork, and one more. I think, yeah, Muma's from TF2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the squad is looking fairly strong, although it does leave you wondering, like, do they have a true hit scan specialist? Well, Clockwork is certainly a hit scan specialist, but is he currently at OWL talent level? We don't really know that yet.
Outside of the Tracer, yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah,
for me, the FNR. If you were watching it all during Contenders, I love the FNRG squad, and I think the reason I love them is because they, to me, transcended the sum of their parts, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that had to do with Muma and Coolmat, and really having that strong tank line and calling that they were able to group around. And so I'm really curious to see how they are able to operate with more DPS tools in their belt, with the likes of Linkser and Jake and Clockwork, and Mendo for that matter. I'm curious to see if they can really elevate themselves, because if they were where they were without those DPS looks as FNRGFE, I think that they can only improve as the Houston Outlaws now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. The DPS combination here it's funny because when you talked about Muma and Coolmat, right? I would say like the kind of tank flex element of this roster is where the strength is. And, most of the other rosters we talked about, just DPS first. Oh my God, the DPS combo. Oh, that's great. Those two are going to be, at the quality of the rest of the league, and they can compete that way. And then it's like, oh, support's an issue or tank's an issue. This one's actually a different in that way. I really think the DPS, though it's very, very flexible and versatile, may not be as strong as some of the others in terms of specialists. I don't see a Tracer that's going to be better than, Effect or Logix or any of those guys, right? Or Prophet, for instance, right? But I do see, Mendo, I see even Jake, and obviously Linkser, that can play multiple DPS players at a very, very high level, or characters at a high level, so they can move around with meta, like in very, I think, very fluidly. But we'll have to see if that's enough to make up for the fact that they're not at the highest level at, a Tracer or a Genji. Linkser's Genji's good.
I would say Linkser's
Genji's good. Yeah.
I actually think Linkser is one of the most talented DPS players in the entire world right now. He can flex between hit scan and projectile at an insane level. Like, I think his McCree and all of his projectile DPS is tier 1. But I think you're exactly right, Chris. Tracer is the blind spot potentially for this team. Who's going to play Tracer at that level where they can compete with the best in the world?
Yeah, it's so hard for me because I feel like Clockwork was a little hamstringed in the season with FNRGFE. on that tracer role. I don't think he necessarily showed his full potential because with Buds in the lineup and with some of the stuff that was going on in prep for Overwatch League, I think that he had to carry too much. And so if maybe now with the pressure off of him a little bit more, he can perform a little bit better. He is still definitely the biggest question for me. I guess the only other question I have is it's interesting that they have Spree in the mix, and nothing to say that with him being bad or good. I mean, I think he's really good, known for his Zarya. But they already have Cool Matt, who's arguably one of the best, if not the best, off tank in the West. And so
is Cool Matt going to play DPS again? Are we going to see Hitscape Cool Matt?
And Spree can play 76 as well, and that's a good question though. Yeah.
But again, we're in the same spot with them. We're talking flex again, so flexing into something that he could play, but not necessarily are the best. So it'll be interesting to see how this team is coached. Will they make like strategic changes with like during a map, and then kind of try that type of approach. But I'm very, very curious to see. I think they'll do pretty well right off the bat. I think this team will have a lot of chemistry together right off the bat. You talked about a team that looks like that they'll hang out together. This team looks like a team that would hang out together for sure.
Totally. And I just thought of another aspect to this, looking at Raucus, because I would definitely agree with that. That's another one of those ones that's interesting, and I think maybe Raucus. I know when I think of Raucus, I think of Anna. I thought Bonnie was one of the better supports. He was one of the strengths of FNRGFE, but I think of mostly that Zenyatta. So it might be another one of those times when they're looking to flex, like we were talking about some of the tanks across on some of these other teams flexing depending on what heroes they want to bring. This could be another one of those ones where, they've got a couple of supports, flex supports that could be more specialists in that regard.
The kind of rounding out the announcement, obviously GM is Flame. Worst kept secret ever, but it was good to have him, and didn't want to have him on this show too, just so we could talk objectively about the team. But I think Tyrong hired as head coach is really interesting too. Those of you not familiar with Tyrong, I mean, he was on last year's World Cup team, just the Korean World Cup team, and he's coached in China, he's coached in Korea. So and you're talking about probably one of the most experienced coached in the Overwatch community or just industry. So I think that's a really good hire. He's probably I think he's our probably top 3 coach already, like in the league from what I've seen. So we'll see if it how he works with this NA team for the most, or just NAEU team. Mezzer, I thought that would surprise me. I was like, oh wow, Mezzer's actually coaching. I didn't realize he was going to be going into that. I think there might have been some mention of him looking into coaching whenever he tweeted that last thing. So that's kind of cool. And then Hyungwoo, I don't know too much about Hyungwoo. Do you guys know much about him?
Not really.
He's like the analyst role, right?
He's
or something?
Apparently he's done some analysis for other teams, maybe a Freak of Freaks. I don't know much about his career.
All right, so yeah, it looks like another interesting team to take a look at. Kind of moving on with some more of the news, we've got the LA Valiant announcing that they have they didn't really announce, but they just kind of like tweeted this, and I just shook my head, dude. I literally shook my head and was like, wait a second. Okay, so we already knew these guys, for the most. We knew Agilities, we knew Grim and Soon, and obviously Silk Thread. And then so they tweeted this picture out, and I was just like confused. I'm like, first off, it's like
I'm still confused.
This is like Photoshop 101 job, like right here. Just
well, is that like a landmark?
I don't know. Is this supposed to be like one of those like LED kind of ads showing?
Yeah,
I didn't understand what it was supposed to be in the first place. But then I was like, oh my god, this is literally. Like anybody could have done this in Photoshop, literally.
No, and here's what happened. So that building that you're looking at is actually a library in LA, and they were like, "Oh shoot, we need to announce something." And they were at the library somehow, and they're like, "Okay, this library only has paint." Oh boy, I guess we'll just let's make it happen. We don't have any materials. Let's go out front and take a picture, and then they just made this. I think that's what happens.
Yeah, I'm always hesitant to be too critical, but what the fuck
Come on,
is this?
Ben. Jeez,
What is this?
Dude, this is
Look at
terrible,
this image.
dude.
I stared at it for minutes like trying to figure out, is there a meme? Is there a joke? It doesn't appear to be a joke. What is this image?
Is that supposed to be like some sort of holographic thing coming out from the building as well to try to be like more Overwatchy? That was one question I had. I don't know.
I don't know. Man.
That said, I like the Valiants overall from their branding. If we're diverting from this,
okay,
disaster.
all right, we're gonna defer.
We're gonna go, just move along because love the logo. I think that that the name Valiant is really good.
Yeah. I mean, yes, we talked about it last week. I think the logo looks really nice. I think just generally, yes, the branding was pretty good. But boy, if there's not a job posting for a graphic artist on their team, like for tomorrow, I don't know what it is, because man, I hope they have a better. Just generally, they have more graphic artists than what was produced here, because this is not good.
Next time, if this is the product, just don't include an asset. Just do it in the text.
just exactly. Let's see. Next up, we've got the Shock. All right, so the Shock sign Nevix, which was really cool for Nevix. I think congrats to him, because I know he was obviously moving around a little bit for a while, and I mean, Nevix was the one that wasn't sure he was gonna have a spot, right? Was Nevix the one that actually posted the Discord stuff? I forget, or is that somebody else? I might be thinking about somebody else. But anyways, congrats to Nevix for getting signed to the Shock. I would say the only thing that's very surprising about that is the fact that they have a ton of DPS players now. I think it's 6 to be exact, which is half your roster. Pretty crazy. Yeah, right? I mean, that's a lot of DPS players to have on your team. And I mean, some of those guys.
Who are all 6? I know they had 4 or 5.
Well, they don't have them all playing at once. Obviously, Sinatra's not. But so they have Sinatra, IDQD, Bebe,
Dante, Baby Bay,
yeah.
And then Nevix.
And Nevix. So that's
but before chat comes in and goes, excuse me, Nevix plays other heroes. Yes, he does.
He does.
In fact,
so does Baby Bay. I mean, well, no, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, Nevix is truly one of the most flexible players I think we've seen throughout Overwatch so far. He you could argue he's the most flexible player, because he's played support, he's played tank, he's played DPS. And maybe my perception is incorrect, but my perception is still, though, that he is a DPS specialist. Like that's where he's most comfortable, and I think that's where he's been most successful. So
on that Genji,
he'll play anything. And again, this goes back to the conversation that we had when the SF Shock roster was first announced, and what Brad himself said about that roster. He's looking to get flexible players who will be able to play in every meta going into the future, and that's like what he prioritized when reviewing all of these incoming players, is flexibility. So it fits within that narrative. Still, at the same time, it seems really weird to me that we literally have, we just named it, we literally have 5 players who probably should be playing DPS if they're playing anything.
Well, their last gigs were playing DPS, right? So
exactly.
It is going to be an interesting.
I'm actually really interested to see that. This one is, I think, the definition of a developmental team, like a team that's really trying to shoot for that long term. They're not looking at short term gains. I mean, specifically, you have Sinatra and Super, that are both under 18. Those are going to be investments that are going to be kind of coming to fruition here pretty shortly after the league launches overall. But I'm actually really curious to see what Super is. You talk about flexibility. He, from what I've heard and what I've seen, just a little bit of him, I think he played Tracer in the Carbon series. He's played Widow. He subbed for a team and he played Roadhog. Of course, we've seen him a lot on the main tank role. He's another one that could be a little bit of a wild card there as far as flexibility goes. And of course, you got Sinatra. When they come online, this team is going to have a certain level of potency. But even at that point, I still wouldn't put them up against a lot of these other teams.
Yeah, when people say things like they're playing for the long term and they're playing to be the underdog and they're developing and stuff. And I'm sorry. Like, I just don't understand this, because like, this is season 1. Okay. Like, this is ground zero. We're not like rebuilding, like in a rebuilding year where we just lost all our players for free agency and everybody's already great. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, you got to build this team from zero. So we should not be talking about developing mental teams and even just like long term, because it's like, yeah, Sinatra's 18, that's great, but who knows like how long people go, like who knows what the age range is for Overwatch players, so I don't know if teams are really going down that route. If you were saying budget, then it's like, okay, that's something that's completely rational and logical. I can understand. Okay, you're trying not to spend too much money or whatever. Then Sinatra is obviously one of like that crazy contract or the high salary that we all talked about months ago. So I don't think that's an issue here. With from the standpoint of salaries and things like that. So I just don't understand it. Like, unless it's just like this chemistry thing that I just don't see. It's hard to obviously measure the chemistry of a team, until we actually see them play and see how they do compete. But talent wise, on paper, I can't. I mean, I cannot be on board with that. Like,
it's true. Well, and when we talk about, like, it's fine to have this mentality of looking towards the future, but the problem is how much do you actually sacrifice what's going on right now for that? And in esports, with how fast things actually change, and especially with such a growing game and a growing esport, the standards by which you measure a player today are going to be completely different,
right,
and a team for that matter, in a year. In 6 months, it's even going to be that different. And so you're going to be making changes no matter what, probably. And maybe they just, I can't
character.
really
Maybe all
yeah.
I mean, at least most of these guys' characters are just really, really good.
And they're not terrible players either. They're not bad players.
No, they're
it's just not
players.
The all-star lineup that you maybe would have expected.
Yeah. So again, we'll have to see. It's just, that's kind of our job, is just to throw out what we think right off the bat.
Make people angry at us.
Yeah, exactly. You can get mad at me all you want, but it's just because I just want to see, obviously, these teams start off just right off with a bang, and just they're really going at each other right off the bat. Okay, so I think, Ben, you put on there, just maybe talk about just some of the teams that we haven't heard from, because we probably will be hearing from them maybe tomorrow, just even before the BlizzCon.
Yeah.
And those teams are London, so we don't have a confirmed brand or logo for them. A lot of people speculating in Spitfire, but we don't know anything about that. We do know a lot about their roster, though. Philly, we haven't heard much of anything from Philly. I literally know nothing about Philly. I don't know if you guys know anything. Or
well, so it's a city it's in the eastern coast.
Thanks, Mehdi.
It's in Pennsylvania.
That's all we know. I mean, you guys heard anything? Like, I don't even know any of the players that potentially are in Philly. Yeah, so that's been a very, very well kept secret. I think if you're looking at who's missing, like any speculations as to any big rosters
player wise,
yeah. Like, is this just going to be a bunch of pieces?
Gillfrost is like probably the number one free agent, right? Or
Gillfrost?
Way up on the list.
That's LA, buddy. That's definitely
LA.
That's I'm pretty sure that's going to be an LA.
I don't know the leak. I don't know the leaks. I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure. I think that most of the community is saying LA.
DeFran.
So we're talking about players. We're talking about players that are missing. Is that what we're talking about?
I think so, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like, is there any roster that seems to be just completely missing that Philly? And we're talking about like a lot of people. Like, is it a Korean team? Is it that's the thing. Like, GC Busan obviously is not that team. Is it Runaway? Like, it could be.
Garnet. This is Michael's team right there.
Michael's team.
You nailed it.
Nailed it.
Second best tracer. Second best tracer in NA.
There you go.
Did you see his owl hype video that he posted earlier today? It's fucking insane, dude. This guy is actually doing a really good job of building his brand.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
Really? No, I didn't even see it. What is it?
No, he's pretty epic. Like, just himself. Like, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna check that out. You're gonna link that to Chad, dude.
He's gonna be the meme specialist for Philadelphia, is what I'm hearing. No, but real quick, just to touch on players. We're seeing a fair amount of balance between NA and EU, but I still think there's a lot of untapped EU talent, specifically from the teams that are that we're not playing in NA as EU teams. I think that even in some of the off tank roles, we're there. I'm thinking of
Just EU
Oh.
generally. Yeah, EU's going to be.
Yeah, just EU in general. But I think that's one of the most untapped roles in general, if I had to guess. Happy Cool is the one I'm thinking of. Happy Cool is one of the better off-tank players, and I thought maybe he would be on a team.
I mean, the remainder of FaZe is still up there.
Well, right.
You've got Runaway, who obviously are god tier. You've got, just took second in Apex. You've got Shore4. Let's see, who else? I have a list.
We still got the AKMs, and we've still got those. But I don't think AKM made it on a team, so it's the rest of Rogue basically, right? Yeah, well, kind of rounding out the rest of the teams. LA, the second LA team, we haven't heard from.
Oh, more of Gigante as well. Sorry.
Yeah, Gigante.
Yeah, without Linkser, all these teams we've mentioned are like some of the best parts have been picked away from them. So it'd be hard to, I guess, build off of that.
Yeah, they're not the same team for sure. And then lastly, Miami. Miami was the first team that we heard news on, for the most part for Overwatch League, and now they're kind of the last to really announce the complete roster and what it's going to be. And so I don't even know if it's going to be Miami Misfits. I have no idea, like, even what the mascot's going to be. So it'll be
I think the rumor was like Mayhem or something like that.
Oh, Mayhem, right? Yeah, Miami Mayhem. That's right. Yeah. So hopefully that happens soon too. I think they will. I think a bunch of these will be announced in within 12 hours.
Within the next 3 days. Yeah,
exactly.
I should be checking Twitter as we're doing this. Just
yeah, it's actually 3 days, right? Because they announced Friday's the keynote. So I figured they would announce before that, and then we'll have some crazy thing, at the keynote with whoever it is, Nate or I don't know who it is, Jeff, or even Mike Morheim, who knows. Okay, well, why don't we move on to player and team news? Ben, you want to take this?
Yeah, just a couple of really short updates. One is everyone's favorite hit scan monster, Defran, has hit #1 in EU. Is he eligible for OWL Season 1? Does anyone know?
I think he is.
Or
right?
is he because he's not banned from competitive anymore, so...
No, he's not banned.
Like, honestly, whoever is able to snag him is going to probably do well with that. There's just a little bit of...
Loose cannon.
I don't know, man.
Loose cannon.
I don't know.
Then Sani and Fozix departed from their team, and Sani publicly said that he's looking for a team, which means no OWL for him. And then this one, Zappis tweeted that he didn't make it into OWL. This is a travesty. This is strange to me. Like, after how well Gigante did, and Zappis in particular was always a big part of that team. Like, inside, I was secretly hoping that like Gigante and Misfits would get merged into this like Nordic superpower. Just Sweden,
would have been interesting, actually.
That would have been sick. I would have really liked to see that, but it seems like at least parts of Gigante are still left without a team going into OWL, which is a big surprise.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. That was another one of those like European teams that I just think got overlooked far beyond their actual performance. And they had a lull maybe at the worst possible time in their career, as a couple months ago. That was how they were playing the worst that they've ever really looked. But they shored up a few of those holes, and they were looking really solid. And Zappis, for one, is definitely a player that he has the skills to pay the bills, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just the entire EU region was overlooked to a degree for Overwatch League, and it's not going to be good for Season 1, but I think it's going to play out well in the long run. I think for Europe, Europe's going to do really well in Contenders 2, in my opinion, or Season 2, and
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the EU region could be more exciting than the NA region, or there was pretty big discrepancy this year. I mean, the matches were close and stuff, but still, most of the hype was on the NA side this season. Yeah. And I think we might see it flip next season, and that's just going to mean potentially maybe more EU teams entering OWL. I mean, we only have one right now, which is hopefully very surprising.
Are we talking about London?
Yeah, I mean, right now, right? We're just talking about London. So
yeah, that European team, European team that's all Europeans. Yeah.
Yes.
No, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I gotcha.
And not to derail us anymore, but Shadowburn. Have we not talked about Shadowburn?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned the remainder of phase,
He's
but
gotta
yeah,
be on
Shadowbird's
some
got to
team.
be a top. He has to be a top free agent right now.
He's got to be on somebody's team. Like, I'd be shocked if he
Yeah.
was not on somebody's team.
Adam
I don't know
still
if he's
doesn't
on the
have a
shock.
team,
I don't know
right?
if he's on the
Unless
shock.
he just
They've already
refused
kind
to
of
move.
announced, so.
Unless the guy just refused to move. That's the only thing.
That's the thing, is he already moved, right?
Oh, yeah, he did already move. That's right.
He's
That's right.
already in America.
He's in
He's
Vegas,
going back.
right, or something.
He misses Russia.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's right. I totally forgot about that. So he's here already. I mean, that would be crazy if he was not on a team.
He's gonna get a team, 100%. He's also
my
so
God.
marketable.
I mean,
And
that is
Adam doesn't
positionless.
have a team. Boombox didn't get signed yet, right?
No, he hasn't been signed yet.
Guys,
There's still a lot of spots. I mean,
There's a lot of talent.
Cruz hasn't been signed. Gods hasn't been signed. Zoms.
Cruz not being
Yeah.
signed is crazy too. Okay,
Anyway.
well, we'll have to see. There's still a lot of spots, obviously, open with Philly, and I mean, there's an entire roster of Philly, like I have no idea about, and in LA too. So we'll see. We'll definitely see in the next few days. I think after it's been fully announced, then we can just like lament with all the people that didn't make it. Let's talk about BlizzCon now, given that we're all going to be leaving for BlizzCon here. So when is everybody going? I actually fly out in about 9 hours from now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Are you guys
I'm
going
going
Wednesday
Thursday.
or Thursday? Oh, Thursday. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll be there Thursday morning.
Sweet. So I'll have a extra day to hang out in Anaheim.
Which is a valuable asset, because I'm like just going over all the people that I want to hang out with and meet, and
Yeah.
it's I don't even know if I'm going to be able to hang out at BlizzCon. I'm just going to like stand outside and just wait for people to come in to meet.
Well, that's why BlizzCon's so fun, because BlizzCon is, Ben, especially like, back when it, like a few years ago too. It's like BlizzCon was the event where I would say is the most concentrated from the standpoint of who attends. Just folks that are friends, like, because we're talking about just Blizzard game. If you're doing content or you're covering Blizzard games or whatnot, BlizzCon's obviously going to have like a very just the most people that you're going to know, and people that know you and things like that. And so a lot of friends are usually there, and that's what's great about BlizzCon. That's what BlizzCon's always been one of the most fun events to go to. So I know what you mean by that, Gil. I mean, the fact that TwitchCon was only 2 weeks ago, so I've seen like a lot of people already, kind of helps out a little bit in terms of, hanging out with folks. But yeah, BlizzCon's never long enough to hang out with everybody. That's for sure. But in terms of the events and everything, it's going to be starting Friday. Thursday, Thursday night's usually like kind of when things get started. And I think, we'll probably have the party again this Thursday, right? Like the community party, or the one that they throw to get everybody lathered up for the the event itself. But on Friday, we're going to obviously kick off the event with the keynote. And this is where each game franchise goes and presents what's the big announcement for BlizzCon, right? So, what is the big announcement for Overwatch, guys?
We're gonna get a new hero, 9,000%.
Mm-hmm.
Like
They're announcing left guy the hero.
Left
That's what's
guy.
happening.
No,
Yeah.
right guy.
leaks.
Left guy.
I mean,
right
oh
girl.
no, oh no, I ruined it.
I think they're gonna announce a healer, hopefully, or maybe a tank, or maybe a tank healer, or maybe a tank and a healer.
Well, healers can heal tanks. Yeah, I mean, anytime you want.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I
beyond
think
that,
maybe maps. I don't know.
Man,
I
we are
mean, I
lame.
feel like what other OWL news is there? Like,
Come on, think outside the
think
box.
the
Something
rest of the
big.
teams,
Come
yeah.
on, something big, guys. Like,
You know what?
Come on.
Actually, so here's what they're gonna do. Here's what they're gonna do. Predictions right here. Is they're going to release details on the format and a little bit more about what Overwatch League is going to look like. I think they're gonna try to do that. I mean,
Okay.
it's coming up is the idea, right?
we'll
And
probably get like broadcast schedules at least
Yeah.
for preseason, things like
yeah,
that.
or at least some kind of format, location, that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll see.
okay. I'm going big. They're going to announce the Overwatch
shit.
movie that's going to be coming
Oh,
out in
shit.
2018. Or no, 2019. Let's
That
just
would
give them
be
2 years.
dope.
I will give them 2 years if they announce it this year, like
Wow.
2019, or at
Bold
least the
prediction.
animated series at the end of 2018. How about that? That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, it would be
Yes,
super
I'll
hype if
go
they
for-
even just drop another one of the animated shorts during BlizzCon. Which also, now that I think about it, if they're doing a new hero, we're almost gonna definitely gonna get that for sure.
I mean,
That'd be sick, Chris.
yeah,
So
dude, that's what
idea.
I'm hoping for, man. None of this like, I think we're gonna get just whatever weak hero, you know, because we've been saying that for weeks now. So we got to go big this time in our predictions. So I'm
What
hoping
is spectator mode
that.
not big enough for you? Spectator mode not big enough? Come on.
They already released it. That's not
I
an
know.
announcement. That's like
No, it's not new, but they're gonna show it off.
they're gonna show it, sure, but I'm talking about announcements. I mean, this is like literally when
Yeah.
each of the groups get to like try to one up each other. You know what I mean? Like they prepare for this BlizzCon announcement, right? Like they do. So that's why I was surprised that they did Doomfist so early, because Doomfist was like a gimme, man. It's like just release Doomfist at BlizzCon and people are going to be going nuts like Sombra last year. So the fact that they didn't, man, I'm hoping
It's
bigger.
gonna be even
I'm hoping
bigger.
bigger. That's right. I wonder if they'll do just like the full roster announcement too at the keynote. You think they'll do that?
Yeah. I would expect it. I mean, it's hard because of some of these teams that I have literally no idea like what's going on with like Philadelphia and stuff, but maybe that's the big news.
I bet they told all the teams that they need to announce their logos and everything before BlizzCon. I would not be
We've
surprised.
only got a few left.
Yeah.
I thought we were actually going to get them all by the end of the day today. I thought we were going to see a lot more rosters revealed this week. But,
yeah, so we'll see tomorrow and Thursday, but that should be a really good time, like there. Obviously, the big thing at in terms of Overwatch, and maybe even just, I mean, arguably a lot of things. I mean, I know the World of Warcraft expansion is going to be announced, and that's probably going to be the big like kind of game thing that's announced at BlizzCon. And then the Heroes have their championship there, but the World Cup, I think is, I'm biased, of course, I think is like the biggest potential esport thing that's happening. I'm underestimating Heroes. I always do that. Heroes, I think a lot of people don't understand that Heroes actually did really, really well at the last HCC in terms of viewership. So we'll see how it compares between Overwatch and Heroes this time around. But the World Cup in the arena, super hype. I'm really curious to see what the stage is going to look like and what kind of like noise we can actually generate in that arena, because we've done it in StarCraft too, but I just know Overwatch is probably going to generate even more, especially day one with USA playing Korea. Oh my god.
Yeah. And then the players of Team USA are going to get to contribute to that noise in the audience after that, which is going to be really fun. Oh, I'm salty. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry. I feel a little bad, but not really that bad.
Oh my god.
It's okay to be realistic.
Damn, Gil.
What kind of American?
This is how I cope with the difficulties
of.
This is how I cope with the difficulties of NA or of America facing off against Korea in round one. Okay.
Is this the NFL?
Don't judge me.
Man, this is crazy. This is weird.
All right, I'm about to usurp all of Left Guy's.
Oh no,
that's right.
USA,
go Ben,
win it. Let's go, USA. No, seriously though.
Yeah.
Serious point here. I think the USA has the best possible chance that they could ever have with this current meta. Adam is an insane Mercy. Mercy is so strong. Ana is not very strong, so Ryu Jaehong is not going to be potentially able to show his skill like he normally would be able to. I think Junkrat adds like a spicy random factor, and we know like guys like Jake can play Junkrat at a really high level. If USA could ever win, I think this current patch and this current meta gives them the best possible chance to do it.
Yep.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Chances are like not as bad as people think.
I think it's going to be super competitive. Flame was on here last week saying that the USA is better than Korea right now. So
I wouldn't go that far, but
Korea has not been playing well lately. So the actual team itself,
I wouldn't know
that. In like scrims or something like that,
or just some.
Listen, if I had $1 for every time I said, "Well, the USA is doing much better in scrims. They're beating everybody in scrims," then I'd be.
Hey, they did beat everybody though. Whenever that did happen, right? So,
probably.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like super close, and of course I'm going to say that I think USA is going to win. I think USA is going to do really well in this tournament. I don't know if they're going to win the whole thing. Like even getting past Korea, I actually don't know if they'll be able to win the entire tournament. But man, I'm just hoping they do super well, because if they do super well, this will be arguably one of the most epic BlizzCons, man. If the World Cup team if they win it too, oh my god, like super high, biggest numbers we've ever seen for Overwatch esports. I mean, it's that kind of potential, right?
Yeah, dude. I agree, and I haven't given up on the USA. I just want to be very clear with that. I want them to win, but
Traitor.
I'm also, I've just got some stuff I've got to deal with over here. Okay, so
you're like that. You're just like the caster analyst. Like I gotta be right, man. Like no matter what, like it doesn't matter about my heart.
It happens so rarely that I have to try.
Oh, God.
I don't know. Cora chat is saying that Korea's losing to some NA challenger team in scrims. What? I don't believe that.
I'm telling you, dude. Like,
look it up.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they have not been playing well in the current meta.
Boy.
Like some of the players have just been struggling. Like their roster, it's Lunatic High, right? But some of the players that are on their roster, it's Lunatic High without what's his
Mono instead of Miro.
No, it's without the new additions too. Without God, I'm like only on brain fart. Lunatic High or Korea added 2 people, right?
They don't have Fleta.
Fleta, yeah,
Totally.
Yeah, so
but they do have Flower and Jaehong and Toby and Sabiolbi and Zumba and Mono. That's an insane roster.
One factor to also keep in mind is the adjacency to Overwatch League with all these players definitely adds a pretty serious element to how these players are going to be performing. And it is going to affect different players differently, but it's a wrench in the operation that makes it a lot harder to predict the outcome of these matches. Because on one hand, you've got like the stress of that, of like, well, maybe I'm not on a team or whatever, as well as then the opposite end of that, you've got people that really are trying to prove themselves and actually operate under pressure very well, and it's going to be an interesting.
I mean, you have to play in the fact that the U.S. are home field too. I mean, that crowd is going to be like 95% USA. Like, I mean, and you're going to feel it too. You're going to feel, you're going to feel the crowd like just roaring whenever the USA does well. And like, how does Korea like respond? How does the Korea team respond to that? I don't know. Actually, I don't know some of those teams. A lot of those Lunatic High, they've always been crowd like fan favorites in Apex, and like they've always been that team that everybody wants to win. So
Monty's gonna have to yell extra loud.
Monty's gonna.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what would happen to Monty's ego if Korea lost in the first round?
Oh my God, that's one of the reasons why I want to see it happen.
His entire life.
Oh God, I want to see that happen so bad.
I've been living a lie.
No, there would be some excuse, of course, right? So like, well, what if they played in Seoul? Like, if they played in Seoul, it'd be totally different, which you'd probably be right. So, anyways, it's going to be awesome. Make sure you guys clear your schedules for that, because that is like, my schedule is completely
Friday,
clear for that.
Scheduled for approximately 4:45, but let's be real, you should be watching the whole thing.
Yes.
This is going to be the sickest Overwatch action you've seen since last year's World Cup.
And I don't want to, I definitely don't want to, not mention all the other teams too, because there's going to be some great matches even with.
Dude, I can't wait for China-France. I think China-France is going to be insane.
I think China-France is actually. I don't think it's going to be that insane. I think China's probably going to whoop them, but we'll see.
It's an interesting. They did have to replace some players, which makes it a little spicier, but yeah, I would agree with that.
Why does China and South Korea have to be in the same bracket as US? I mean, they get so screwed. It's like,
I don't know. I think the US could beat China. I think if US and China make it the semi somehow, I think US definitely favored in that matchup. The other side is interesting to me. I actually think we're seeing Australia in the semifinals. I think they could beat Canada. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's a prediction right there.
Nuts. Canada's got that easy, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
When was the last time we saw Surefour really play?
It's been a long time.
Nangachu.
Right?
I mean Nangachu.
Nangachu.
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know what else to say.
Ouch.
Like, it's just this kind of disjointed team.
They still got. I mean, it really just depends how the
they've got Agility is one of the best carries from one of the worst teams and contenders.
True.
That's great. No, Agility really is pretty legit though. So
God, but
well,
I think that match will be competitive. I don't.
Yeah.
I still don't see Australia winning, but I don't know. No idea how these boot camps are going right now, because a lot of the teams are just now starting to practice together. They might have like 2 weeks together, that sort of thing. But I am super intrigued by UK Sweden though. I mean, UK was arguably the hottest team coming out of groups, and I mean they just dominated. I mean they played super well, and Sweden has been a team that it's underperformed last year, underperformed this year, even in groups. So we'll see if the Swedish team can actually step up and play to the potential they have on paper.
That's probably the first round matchup outside of US South Korea that I'm most excited for. They're all pretty interesting though. It's definitely gonna be a fun day.
Yes.
God, if the US wins this, can you imagine the US beats South Korea and China and then loses to UK or something like that?
I'm telling you, if they win, they're going all the way. If they beat Korea, they're going all the way. Like, I mean, I think the UK are going to make it to the finals as well, and that would be an amazing matchup. First of all, because I'm going to try to sit right next to, Bren and just like make that as make some bets that I probably shouldn't be making, but
yeah. Predictions. All right, let's predict. Let's make actual predictions here.
Okay.
All right. So, all right, who's y'all's top 4 first?
Oh, we're not going to do matchup? All right.
Oh, we can. I mean, it is matchup, basically. I mean, okay, UK, Sweden. Who wins?
UK.
I'm going Sweden.
I go UK. I go UK.
I think it's close, but I think Sweden takes this. I just haven't seen anything from most of those UK players in so long. It's so hard to know, because have they been like in a hyperbolic time chamber training every day? I don't know. I wish I scrims I wish I had time to watch scrims all day like other people. But I don't. So I don't know. Have they been training all day? Who knows? But the Swedish roster, I just have seen so much more of them recently. I don't know.
It's fair enough.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like the UK team probably has been playing together a lot lately, and we just don't.
What else are they going to do?
Exactly, right. Unless a lot of these are going to be on OWL teams and we just haven't seen them announced, like I think that could be something that could be distracting. But I just always see what Stylos is saying at the time, and still, it seems like they're still at it. So I'm picking UK. I expect them to be just as hot as they were in groups. Canada, Australia, sounds like you guys got your picks there.
Canada 3-0.
Woo.
Wow. I think no matter what, it's going to be more competitive than that. But I think that coming into this one, I'm looking at Canada. I mean, you've got a lot of owl strife, so to speak. You've got players from different teams that are stressed out about their careers. This might be their opportunity to shine, but I don't think they're going to. And I think Australia, you've got a cohesive team that when you talk about teams performing higher than the sum of their parts, well, Canada, they've got a few parts that they're not going to necessarily have the same synergy. And Australia, I think they're just going to outperform on a team level. They're going to come with a better plan. They haven't had anything to do but prepare for the World Cup. This is their team platform to try to prove themselves, and that this is the only focus they've had, whereas Canada, they've had split focuses for months.
Okay.
That's my like impassioned speech for Australia coming out of this one on top.
I'm going to pick Canada 3-2, and Australia having a good showing though. Like, it's going to be very competitive, but I have a hard time seeing Australia winning, and I know Mitch is going to be rooting the hell out of for them, but I just can't see it. It's really hard for me to imagine that happening. China, France.
Oh, this after seeing how well China played in the Seoul Cup, it changes things. But oh man, I think this is probably the closest game. It's so hard to call this. God, I don't know. I'm gonna do this because I'm going with my heart. France 3-2.
Wow. Okay. I'm going with China coming out of this one. Honestly, it is hard, and I think the main reason it's hard for me is the France squad. Well, if it was like halfway through Contender Season 1, I would have been like, yeah, right, there's no way they're going to win. They were underperforming. They started to perform a little bit better towards the end, but still not up to the world level, I would say. And I think that China, and the other reason why this is close is they had to sub in a few people due to visa issues. that would be maybe one of the X factors that would make this a lot closer, but I still think China is coming out on top.
Okay, for me, China is going to be underrated going into this World Cup. I think people don't realize how good China Overwatch is right now, even after the super matches and things. And I know some of those players aren't necessarily on the team right now, but I just think that China is underrated. I think China is going to like beat France 3-0. Actually, I hate to say that, but I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah. So the last one, South Korea, U.S. All right, what's the score at least, guys? I think we know where we're at, but what's the score?
3-2, one way or the other.
Yeah, I honestly am expecting South Korea 3-1, but with a lot of the factors that we've talked about, as far as this being maybe the most advantageous time for the U.S., and the thing is you look at that roster and they've got a lot of tools that they can bring to bear. I still think it's gonna be 3-1 South Korea, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong.
I'll go 3-2 Korea.
What? Okay.
What, you expect me to say U.S.?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I think we have a better chance than ever before. It doesn't mean I think they're going to win.
Turntables.
Okay. I'm going to say 3-2 U.S. I'm almost even tempted to say 3-1 U.S. I'm going to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say 3-2 U.S. just to be safe. I'll say 3-2 U.S.
Okay.
Okay, so that's top 4 for us. All right, top 2. Who's in the championship?
All right.
Okay.
I
think it's UK, South Korea. I think if UK makes it through, whoever wins with UK and Sweden has the best chance of getting in, and I think it's the UK. And then whoever wins South Korea versus the US is making it in as well. I think that if the US beats South Korea, they're going to beat China. But South Korea is definitely making it to the finals.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm like always a potential Tvik fan, so I'm gonna keep going with Sweden here. I think Sweden can make it out of the top, and then it'd be Sweden, Korea.
Sweden, Korea. Wow. Okay, that would be like a redemption.
I could be like so fucking wrong.
That could be
right
redemption for
no
Sweden.
Idea.
Holy shit, man. That'd be.
They always play under their potential.
Can you imagine if Australia made it?
Want
to
to believe
finals?
In the potential. That's never gonna happen, Chris.
What would Mitch do if Australia was in the finals? What would he do?
They better put him on the casting gig for that. I don't care if it's Monty Doa. Just put him in.
Put him in, son.
Put him in, coach.
Oh my god, that would be. I would pay to see that. I would buy a Blizzard virtual ticket, even if I don't need it, just to see that. Just to see maybe behind the scenes of what's going on with Mitch. They have a special Blizzard virtual ticket camera that's only on Mitch while Australia's on. That would be awesome. No, okay, yeah, I think that the China US one for me is like so tough, dude. I mean, as much as my heart wants to pick US, I actually think that China's gonna win this whole thing.
Wow.
What are these bold
China,
predictions?
I don't know. I just have this feeling that China's gonna do really well.
Are you a communist? That's what it is, isn't
Chinese, dude. It's coming out, dude.
You're a communist.
No, I don't know. I think China is super underrated. That's all.
Whatever happens, we know one thing. One or two of us on this show are gonna look like complete fucking idiots.
Or all 3 of us will.
Well, here's the thing. For that reason, I'm always going to look like an idiot, so it's fine. It's just for why am I going to look like an idiot? So is this going to be a good reason for it?
But I'm hoping with all my might that U.S. wins the whole thing, though. That's going to be, oh, God, so amazing. But anyways, guys, I know we spent a lot just trying to do predictions, but I figured that would be fun to do today. So I think the next thing we have is just Q&A. We have one question from a dedicated listener. Didn't want to mention his name this time around, but actually let me change the topic real quick here. He said, a lot of people seem to be complaining about Mercy buff, but is this part of Blizzard's plan? The main issue that I had, as many of the other peers, is that the game kind of seemed unfair because no matter how good mechanically you are at the game, you will most of the time lose if your opponent uses their ultimate. I remember strongly disagreeing when D.Va got buffed because her regular abilities were able to negate many ultimates, and I remember thinking that it was a bit counter to what I thought Blizzard's approach was, because I was so used to getting pounded by ultimates. However, this new Mercy change, I'm seeing the same thing, and I actually enjoy it a bit more than Mercy hide and seek. Mercy's regular ability is almost as strong as the ultimate, same as D.Va, she, with her Matrix, Anna with her grenade, Anna nade blocks Zen. I feel like Blizzard is inflating the power of regular skills so that ultimates are not as strong as they used to be. I also think they can somehow balance state if the trend continues where regular abilities are almost as strong as ultimates, instead of ultimates just being automatically team wipes as it was in the beginning parts of Overwatch. All right, so what do you guys think of that? Do you think that they are trying to do that with regular abilities?
Can I get a copy of that? No.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, do you think they are increasing the power levels of regular abilities to offset how much the game's flow has depended upon ultimates?
I think that Mercy, what actually happened, not their intent necessarily, was that the standard ability became very powerful. I wouldn't say necessarily a single res is being more powerful than an ult, but it felt a little bit imbalanced, and so that's why I don't think that that's where they're going, and I think that's evident in the changes that we are just now today seeing with Mercy. That they want there to be play and counterplay, and the idea behind ultimates is that there's a lot less counterplay. That it's more likely to maybe net you an advantage.
The counterplay is like another ultimate. That's like usually
exactly. Yeah. Or D.Va,
yeah. Oh yeah, true.
But
yeah, what do you think, then?
I don't know if this particular. Well, obviously, she's now has one of the best cooldown abilities in the game. It is on a 30-second cooldown, though, so it's it's quite a bit more sparse than other shifts and E's. I would say, I know this isn't exactly what you asked. I don't know if Blizzard wants to do this specifically, if they're making a concerted effort to do this, but I personally would like to see more of this. I think. And excuse me if I'm completely off the mark on this, because I don't play any MOBAs. I've never played any MOBAs, but my understanding about MOBAs was I thought that I think that there are a fair number of characters in MOBAs that have strong, regular, non-ultimate abilities that are on longer cooldown, right? That's a thing that's pretty prevalent in MOBAs, and I think would be good for the game. Like, I think it would be dynamic. It would just add more diversity to the characters. It surprised me that almost every single ability is either on a 6, 8, or 10-second cooldown with like one or two exceptions. So I think it's okay. I'd like to see more longer cooldowns and more powerful regular abilities.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, when you talk about that from a MOBA perspective, or just in general, the timing of when things are happening is very important. I think this is why Sombra actually has had the impact that she has had it, because if you're good with her, you can build up her ultimate a lot faster and have impact on a different timeline than the rest of the ultimates. Because the game would be really boring if it was like, already teams build up their ultimates, it takes this amount of time every time, and then you use them, and then we figure out who wins, And so by that is a way to add diversity to the game. And I think that we'll probably start to see more heroes come out that maybe align with that. And once again, though, also stating that even though these are abilities that are stronger than other people's standard abilities, I do think that most of the time they should be less powerful than most people's ultimates, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. In terms of the ability, I don't think they're purposely doing any of that. I just think that it just turned out that with Mercy and D.Va, we've just been seeing kind of tweaks that way.
Oops.
Yeah. Oops, I guess. Oh, man. Okay, let's see. George actually has a kind of interesting exercise for us, which is more of like a fantasy draft type of thing. So he says, love the overview. I was thinking of an idea for a segment or just a question for the show. I'd love to hear you three do a fantasy draft style competition where you all take turns picking players for a 6 to 9 man roster. Maybe to make it more difficult, you can say you need 3 NA players, 3 EU players, 3 Korean players, or that sort of thing. Then the chat could vote there in the polls or blah, blah, blah. So do a fantasy draft type of thing. Maybe we save that for like the next episode.
It's a cool idea, though.
Yeah, it could be fun though. We could definitely.
I feel like I could YOLO my way through that right now.
I
but
could too.
Yeah,
I could definitely
YOLO that.
I might have a difficult time with EU players, just exactly who I wanted, but I could YOLO Korean and NA players for sure.
Is this like best of the best? Can come from any team?
Yeah, it's just fantasy draft. Like as long as we don't pick it, you can pick it.
I was thinking it would be interesting to do that with like the players that are currently unsigned as well. I don't know.
Man, and just compare them to the actual rosters. Pick 12-man rosters for the people that are unsigned. Oh man.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm calling it right now as well, and I think a lot of people have talked about this, so it might not be that. But there are going to be multiple contenders teams that are better than multiple Overwatch League teams to start off with. Yes. Yeah, definitely. So.
Like I said before, I'm still sticking to it. I think this first season of Overwatch League will be teams of haves and teams of have-nots, and it's going to be like a big difference. Like 3 or 4 teams, super good records, like 8-0, 7-1s, and things like that, and you're going to have the other teams that are just like super bad, and it's going to take them at least a season to get things going or figure things out. Mm-hmm. But so this contenders team, I think if they get expansion drafted, we'll have plenty of time to catch up to the other teams. Would not be surprised. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it, guys, for today. Unless there are any other anything you guys want to bring up, we can just kind of go into shout outs. We miss anything? I got to check their subreddit before we freaking leave.
Yeah, did something else drop while
I
the
know,
show's
exactly.
going? I don't know.
All
No,
right.
I think that pretty much wraps up most of the news of the week, and Overwatch World Cup coming up this weekend. It's going to be super duper hype. I can't wait.
Yep, I'm going to be honest.
Can't wait.
Yeah, Gil, thanks for.
I'm worried about getting a seat in the arena. That's
what I'm worried about.
I know.
Is like
I actually need to work like all BlizzCon, doing like Twitch social media for BlizzCon, but like I don't really want to leave the Overwatch arena at any point.
The Wi-Fi ain't good enough. I can tell you that right now. There ain't no way the Wi-Fi is good enough. So, where are you gonna do that from? Are you gonna do that from your hotel or something?
I don't fucking know.
Oh my god, dude, that's gonna be rough.
Hopefully Verizon is good. Verizon was.
Oh,
really
you could
good
do it from the
at
media
TwitchCon.
room, right? Yeah, but
yeah, media room is the other option.
Oh god, yeah, that's not even close. Yeah, I'm afraid that when I leave my I bet I get a good seat to begin with, but if I have to leave at some point, oh man, I hope it's not like to the point where they won't let people in. I
mean, that happens every year with StarCraft.
Oh God, you're right. I
every
always
year.
get in there, so I've never actually experienced that. So, oh man, does that really happen to a lot of people? Shit, I didn't realize that.
For StarCraft, yeah, I always make sure to
God.
show up like 2 hours before the grand finals for StarCraft, and this is going to be worse. Hey, one thing I will say is if you're a fan of the Overview and you're at BlizzCon, make sure to say hello.
Yes, come and find us, guys. Yeah, definitely. If you see us, bother us. Like I was saying this on Overwatchers too. Like we're there because we want to see you guys. That whole bit. And I don't know, maybe we'll get a chance to do one too, like just a quick overview, just to talk about what the announcements were. But again, I'll have to tweet that out if we figure out. I think if we do one, it'll be from like a hotel room or something like that. We can just like sit next to each other, maybe grab another player or something. Do a quick one.
Yeah, that would be dope. That would be dope.
Maybe grab Gil here if we find Gil.
Hey, I'll be
Chris,
there.
we should IRL stream from all the parties. Just kidding.
Shut up. There'll be plenty of other people doing that, so it won't. Well, they'll be getting many more viewers than I would ever get, anyways. But one thing I forgot to mention, guys. After all the World Cup's over,
big thing.
Yeah, after all the World Cup's over, which is thank God, and thank you, Kiki and whoever scheduled Streamer Showdown to be after all World Cup. You can go and watch our Streamer Showdown that we have up in the new hall upstairs in the Epic stage. There's like 2 big stages actually upstairs that I'm not sure you guys know about because it's like just a new area. So definitely go and check that out. That's going to be at 4:30 on Saturday. So once you watch the finals, go over there because I'm doing a Streamer Showdown, which is our game show that I do with Seagull, Moon
face reveal
hype
champ.
Yeah, and Lasses too. So all bros, of course, and Force, from Force Strategy, Dennis, he's going to be hosting it too. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely come up and check that out. And then afterwards, I'm actually doing a Hearthstone thing right after that too. So kind of back to back with me upstairs. But yeah, that'd be awesome if you guys go and check that out. But Gil, thanks for dropping by, hanging out with us today.
Always a fun time.
Excited to see you there this coming week. But you want to do any shout outs before you take off?
Not really, no. I just thank you guys for letting me come on. It's always a lot of fun. And definitely, if anybody is going to be at BlizzCon, yeah, feel free to say hey. I might look like I'm really busy, but I'm probably not. I don't even have to do social media for anyone, so it's great.
Nice. Lucky you. I love going to BlizzCon when you don't have to work. Those are the best.
And this is my first one, so I'm really glad that I just get to enjoy it. Yeah.
First one's always the best one, dude. Yeah. Especially when USA wins, too. It's gonna be memorable. It's gonna be the most memorable thing you've ever experienced.
It's gonna be a memorable fantasy.
Yeah, Ben, how about you? Shout outs.
I'll put my Twitch hat on for a second. Watch BlizzCon on Twitch. Watch it. It starts at 11 a.m. on Friday with the opening ceremony. It's going to be on all of their channels. They're going to just do the opening ceremony and then go straight into games all day. Finals are on Saturday. Remember, it's not a normal esports event. It's only 2 days, and finals day is Saturday. And I'm looking at the schedule now. I actually just realized. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually just realized the World Cup finals start at noon Pacific, which actually I'm a little bit surprised because that means it's going to be over before it's even 8 a.m. in Korea, which is a surprise to me. I thought they would do it at a Korean, more Asian-friendly time zone. But yeah, World Cup Grand Finals is noon on Saturday.
Their team's not going to be in the finals anyway, so it's all good.
America, yeah.
I'm just kidding. All the Koreans all of a sudden just start
#rigged
hating on me. No, I know what you mean. It is going to end early. That's why I said you better get there really early because the bronze match is at 10 a.m. So actually, let me just show the schedule real quick, just so people can see. Yeah, so this is Saturday. Yeah, I don't know what this logo is in between right here. Between the
That's going to be some Overwatch League news or something.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, so wake up early on Saturday, go check it out. And most of your day Friday is going to be just, starting at I guess, what is that? 12? I guess that's 12. Or maybe 12:15 or something like that. You're pretty much going to be there the entire time. I think the semis will be played. Quarters and semis will be played in the first day. So that's crazy. That's a lot of Overwatch in one day. Gil, you know how crazy it can be just playing.
Oh, yeah. Matches. No, I'm actually looking at that and kind of stressing out a little bit. I'm kind of conflicted because it's different watching it. But it is a lot. That's going to be a long, fun day.
God, they put where's the what's next? Oh, God. Because I love seeing the what's next ones. I'm going to have to freaking watch that next. That's gonna be
I'm kind of trying to, because I haven't actually done nearly as much planning as I should have. I'm looking at the schedule and I'm like, what am I getting myself into? I should have planned.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about BlizzCon. It just gets me crazy. It's just that you have to pick one thing you want to watch, and that's all you get to watch. If I wanted to watch, say, Hearthstone or Heroes or whatever it is, right? There's no way I'm leaving my seat in the Overwatch in the arena. It's gonna be. Do you think it's gonna be packed the entire time? Or just for the USA 301?
I think it might be. Oh
my God! Please don't be packed the whole time.
God, we'll see.
That'll be bad. Okay. Well, anyways, I'll round things out. Thanks to the two of you guys for obviously doing the show tonight, and everybody for watching. You're gonna find the VODs as always on YouTube.com/ChanManV. You can find our show on iTunes as well as Google Play and SoundCloud.com/ChanManV. If you like the show, leave us a review. That'd be awesome. Helps people find it when they're searching for Overwatch podcasts. And follow the show on Twitter at the Overview GG. But that's going to be it, guys, for today. So for Gillfrost, Fishstix, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week. Maybe before next week. Maybe in a few days. We'll have to see. Whoops. All right, let me turn you guys up.